In this week's channel message from the angels, they say they are foreshadowing some events that could be on our near horizon, specifically volcanic eruptions, earthquakes. There looks like there's some earth movement on the horizon. So, and most importantly about this message, that they are trying to explain to us how this fits into our shift in consciousness and how this is going to be an amazing moment of transformation for the earth and for us. So welcome back to my channel, you guys. I am very, very glad you're here. This is an important message, and I'm really glad you're here to hear it. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for being here to share and to hold the energy of these messages. And so for those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm, and I do that by, I go into a deep meditative state or trance, and from that trance state, I raise my awareness up as high as I can go. I stretch myself just a little higher, and then from there, I let in, I channel healing messages and information for you guys, which I share here on YouTube. So, and this week's message, like I said, is, and the angels, you guys know, those of you who've been with me for a while, you know that they have been talking about many events that have been happening in the world. They've started talking about, I started channeling in this way in 2020. And brought through many as messages at the time about important events that were going to happen in our world, and many of those have now happened. If you have missed some of those earlier messages, you can go back in the YouTube channel. There's also, I have a book here, which is a compilation, which was just recently out, called What's Coming Next. This has all the information about, here's the book on YouTube. I will stop doing this to it. It's on Amazon, and it's got basically the actual transcripts of all the messages that were kind of cherry picked to talk through the major events that are coming, along with summary. So this is a really good way to catch up on some of what the angels have forecasted, have discussed, some of which, like I said, has been happening, some of which it seems very clear to be on the horizon, that could be coming soon. But this is something different. They did talk about back then an earth rift. I don't believe this is the earth rift, but this is an eruption that they're talking about, or that happens in more than one place. But what's important, and the angels have a way, the reason why they share stuff with us is not to scare us at all. And the goal here is in no way to create fear. And you will feel in the message, you feel their vibration when they're channeling. It is all love. And the reason they share stuff like this with us is because it's part about building a relationship with us. How would you feel if you had a best friend who knew something that was coming down the pike for you that might be difficult, and they never told you? They didn't share with you what they knew. You would feel a little betrayed, and the angels know that. And so they tell us these things not to create fear, but so that if and when they happen, because things can change, if and when they happen, that we are not caught flat-footed, that we can say, oh yeah, this is that thing that they told me about, and it gives us more of a sense of peace and calm. The other big thing about this message is that the earthquake or the volcanic experience, whatever's happening, this great shift in the earth, is part of a major healing release and shift in energy for the earth herself, and it will have a very positive effect on us energetically, which is super exciting. So there is absolutely the light at the end, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There is a something coming, that every type of earth event like this is destructive, and there's that piece of it that we have to acknowledge and hopefully do some preparation ourselves so that we're in a position where we feel like we're going to be okay. But also, I think it brings an enormous amount of peace to understand that there's a reason for it, and that it will create a beautiful shift for the earth that then has an extremely positive effect on humanity from an energetic standpoint. So anyways, I think you guys are going to get a lot out of the message, and I'm really, really glad you're here to hear it. So before we dive in, I'm going to make sure you guys know Soul Convergence starts on June 8th, June 7th? No, June 7th. It's coming up very, very soon. So if you have felt like you would like support on your healing journey, and people sometimes ask, who needs healing? Like, what is healing? Every single person needs it. And I used to hate the word healing. When I first started my journey, I thought the word healing implied that there was something broken about me, and I didn't like it. And it was only once I started on my journey and really understood what it means, is it doesn't mean you're broken. Healing means it is about the pieces of ourselves that we have resisted, denied, or hidden. And so if you can think about, is there anything in your life that you wish didn't happen? Is there anything in your life that you feel when you think about it, it still triggers emotion, negative emotion for you? Is there anybody that you see in your life that triggers you in a negative way? A parent, an ex-spouse or ex-partner? Is there times where these types of events that come up for you, where you feel maybe there's patterns where you feel like you would love to free yourself of it, whatever area it is? Maybe it is that you struggle with finances. Maybe you struggle in relationships where you just can't seem to maintain a positive relationship, a relationship that feels fulfilling. Maybe it has to do with your health. Maybe you worry about your health and your well-being. Whatever area it is, we all have our thing. And there may be patterns that you feel that you have had a really hard time resolving despite your very, very, very best efforts. And the reason is often because those are rooted deep, deep, deep in your earliest childhood. They go back as far as the womb. Many of my deepest issues came from the womb. And how are we supposed to find that on our own, right? You don't have memories. You have no memories from that. Most people don't. And so that is why the angels brought through soul convergence, is that it is designed to help us to heal those specific issues. And by heal, it means take these pieces of ourselves that have been too painful to face. And it creates a safe space where we can bring them up and love ourselves back into wholeness. It's about self-acceptance, self-love. It is taking all the pieces that when they come up now, there is a natural response in the body to push them away, push them down. And soul convergence helps us to begin to draw those forward, to heal, to feel and release the emotions that have been trapped, and to integrate the knowledge and the self-love that comes from it. So it's a beautiful experience. The result most people express, the most common result is a deep sense of inner peace. That sometimes your life changes, but sometimes and most often you change in your life. And that's the magic. So if you want to be part of it, it starts June 7th. And it is the last time I'll be running Soul Convergence for this year because it is a very resource intensive program. So if you want to be with it or be with me through it, it is starting in, here's the link, like I said, June 7th. And it's on my website, anntucker.com/soul-convergence. All right, so let's dive into the message.
Beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Blessings, we are within. We speak to you now on the topic of some concern, a foreshadowing of events that are near to come. You have an embodiment where you are of things that are awry, of what has been known to be stable and is not anymore, and underpinning that which justifies itself as stability has become ruptured, and there shall be a great shakening that comes before long. The effervescent stream of light that perpetuates itself within the earth is rising to express herself, and she shall rise into an abundant field of anomalies where things no longer fit together. And this shall consecrate the gestation of a new beginning for herself. For she is as one as you are, as one with yourselves. She is within the institutional understanding of herself and is rising from within that. She has come to an agreement for her own cause of being, and she must now carry forward into a greater and broader explanation of her own soul. This underpinning of which we are speaking shall rattle the earth in many places at once. It shall become as if the great walking that once was revered has risen to take its place again, and the footsteps of giants are felt in the rattling of your china and the displacement of your things. Be aware for yourselves that this is a creating and a calling to come forward into the now. Be aware for yourselves that this demarcates a separation for the earth from what she was. The inconstancy of your own reverberations, which have fluctuated between that which was, that which is, and that which shall be, shall become increasingly supported into higher dimensions because of what is rising from within her. You shall find yourselves within a separated space from what has been underlayers of disquiet and lack of communication. You shall find yourselves increasingly drawn together now and brought into greater relationship with your own selves. The earth's underpinnings shall rise to intermix within your own constitutions, as if you are one with her, which you are. You shall find yourselves greater in depth of processing and understanding, as if the reservoir of knowledge that you contain becomes more accessible to yourselves, as if your connection to the Almighty, as if all that rises to the heavens can be reached more easily, and this comes from the substance of the earth herself. She rises within you and between you and among you, and this then accentuates the expansiveness of your own soul, and you are able to find greater and broader depth of awakening within yourselves. Do not fear what comes. Do not fear the great enshroudment of the skies and what is darkening. It shall pass. Do not fear what shall become known as an explosive time, where separation is known more than togetherness, where the world seems at a stoppage for a time. Do not fear it. This is only a statement of rising and awakening. This is only a foreshadowing of greater things to come, of your own rising, of your own awakening. There shall be an incarceration between countries and planes of existence while things settle. There shall be difficulty moving things, a time period within which transportation does yield to the pressures of the environment. And we say, you shall resume your undertakings shortly. Have no fear. Times will separate from this now moment, and you shall begin again within the constitution of one who has reached a higher and brighter illumination of their own substantial divinity within. The great underpinnings of the earth shall rattle, and she shall rise, and she shall come into agreement with herself that she shall be more of her own soul in the future. She comes to break away from what has been limiting beliefs in her own reality. She comes to free herself from that which she has held against her own purpose. And this shall resonate deeply within your own hearts, as if a great call can be heard to the depth of your soul and your spirit. This rattling is more than a quakening of things. It is an energetic pulse that surrounds you within her own field, and it speaks to your soul, to your heart, to rise together into an embracing of what shall become the future, yielding what has been, to announce the now is now begun. So how is it that we say that news of a rupture or a foreshadowing of a earthquake or rumbling, how is that uplifting? Well, I think the angels somehow managed to do that. That they are telling us that there may be something coming on the horizon, that there may be some major like earthquake or volcanic activity, but they're saying that it is really a major moment in the Earth's transition into new Earth. That is, they're saying it's a departure from what has been. Like it's a massive release for her. But what's super cool is that they're saying that it's not just a rupture; that it's actually, they call it an energetic pulse. They say that so think of that. It's like an energetic pulse, and it affects us too. And they're saying that we are part, like our human bodies are really part of the earth. It's almost like we are the neurons of the earth, that our bodies are like literally made of her. And so this energetic pulse affects us as well. So we will rise with her. So yes, earthquakes and things like that have a lot of damage associated with them, and that can be alarming. And they're trying to tell us, don't worry, that the repercussions of this will pass, and that what's on the other side as a result of this, like this is a thing that we have to get through, because on the other side, it is a major demarcation in the process of the Earth's rising and in ours too. So we should see this as something that, and I'm sure this is why I've been getting the feeling, like this is why I announced that I was doing the earth meditation, that I've been feeling this crunchiness in the earth. So I was kind of wondering if they were going to mention it or talk about it, and here it is. So, and that earth meditation is coming up, by the way. Wendy, if you have the date of that, you could put it in the chat. There's we're going to do it. It's the point of the earth meditation. I had the feeling to do it, but we need to do it from the new perspective, which is why we're saying anybody who has done our angelic frequency series, which is the 9 frequencies that the angels brought through to help us embody the new earth. If you have done any one of those, then we please invite you to come and help us with the earth meditation. You just have to have done one, because we're going to be leading it from that frequency, from that higher perspective. And so anyways, if you've done it, I'm speaking to you, please get the information from us. Just email us at support@anntucker.com if you have done one of our, even one of our angelic frequency series. And then we would love for you to join us. And if you haven't done it yet, you still can. You're absolutely invited. It's just important that we have done that in order to join the meditation, because that's, if you came and you hadn't, it would, like, you wouldn't be able to energetically participate. It's just, you could be there, but nothing would be happening. So anyways, and it's free. If you've already done the frequency series, the meditation is free. So anyways, Josh was saying, I'm wondering if this is in reference to the underwater volcano off the West Coast. I've seen news articles saying when it goes off, it could create 10,000 earthquakes across the world. And Chrissy says, wow, this is stunning. And then Wendy says the New Earth Energy Empowerment is on Earth Meditation, Sunday, June 8th. So if you're free for that day to join us. So yeah, it is, and it's surprising but exciting message, right? It is. And not that I'm ever like happy about like things that might, like, there can be bad things that happen during earthquakes. We know that. But we also understand this is part of a much bigger picture, that this is about like the entire earth and the shift that the earth is going through, and the shift that we are going through, because we're here on earth. So yeah, it is like, you have to hold both energies. You have to hold both. Like, it's like, I remember like one of my key learnings when I was getting divorced is it was possible. I used to think that happy and sad were opposites, that I was either happy or sad. And then I learned that happy and sad are two different dials, and that I can be really, really happy and really, really sad at the same time. And that's my like big divorce aha moment, But like with this, we have to hold both energies. We can be both like amazed and excited and uplifted about the incredible shift that this is talking about, like this massive transformation for the earth and for us, and then also have a lot of reverence and grief for whoever might be, or whatever might be destroyed during this process, because earthquakes are destructive. So we can hold both. We can hold both energies at once. So let's dive into it paragraph by paragraph and talk it through, because there is some layers in here, which when I went back and read it and went through it, I love when they surprised me, which they do all the time. They always surprise me, but there were some really interesting layers in here I did not expect. And it was cool because I got to do like a little research on it, which I will share with you. I have no drawings this year, or this week. I have no drawings, which are like, phew, no more of her beautiful drawings. I actually had some beautiful people in our community saying, would you like help with your drawings? I'm like, if I had more time, like if I built more time in between when I channeled the message and when I delivered it, then I probably would. But in the meantime, you guys are just going to have to put up with my Sharpies and my circles and my triangles. Okay. So first paragraph, blessings we are within. And that's always how they just tell me, hey, we're speaking, we're here. That's like kind of their little announcement, which I'm most grateful for. They almost always start with that. They go on to say, we speak to you now on the topic of some concern, a foreshadowing of events that are near to come. You have an embodiment where you are, which basically means we live in a reality. You have an embodiment, like we're embodied in a reality that is embodied, we're living in a physical reality. So you have an embodiment where you are of things that are awry, of what has been known to be stable and is not anymore. So they're basically saying that, hey, there's something you may not be aware of where there's some shifting going on, right? Things are awry, that things that were stable that are not anymore. And they say an underpinning. So an underpinning is like, think about that. That's it is like a foundation or a support. So they're referring to what is it that was stable and is not anymore? An underpinning, a foundation, a support. So they're here. This is what our first clue. They're talking about, maybe these could be like tectonic plates or whatever in the earth. And they say that which justifies itself as stability has become ruptured, and there shall be a great shaking that comes before long. So, and I like here that they say they don't just call it stability, that which justifies itself as stability. In other words, they're saying that nothing is actually stable, that the only truth in terms of like all of universal law is like change. Like change is the only thing that's constant, right? The fact that, so nothing is actually stable. Even the earth and even like anything physical, like my glasses are not actually physical. Like this is vibration, and it's just vibration that has gotten really tight together into the form of matter. Right. And so like as we move through this shift in consciousness, as we become a heightened state, I think it'll be almost like in the Matrix, where he starts to see the world as just zeros and ones, and you can like put your hand right through the glasses, because you can just move them aside, move the material aside. Like it is in reality, nothing is physical, that everything is just energetic particles, but the things that are dense are really tight together with very, moving together in like that. So this idea that it justifies itself as stability is a reference, I think, to on many layers, matter is not matter. And stable, nothing is ever actually stable. The only thing that is actually stable is change. So it's an interesting little note in there where the angels are always careful in what they say, that they choose their words in such a way that they reflect the truth of the universe, even in the small things, which I always think is amazing. That which justifies itself as stability has become ruptured, and there shall be a great shaking that comes before long. So they're saying, yes, there's and when, like, it's the classic soon, like, what are they talking about? Is it next week? Is it this year? I have to think it's sometime in the near future because of the timing, and also because after I got this message, I of course went online and was like, this morning I'm Googling and finding that there's all kinds of stuff going on right now, which we'll talk about in more depth. Just to say that, let me get to this part here and then I'll explain how I found it. So, okay, next paragraph, they say, and this, I love this, they say, the effervescent stream of light that perpetuates itself within the earth is rising to express herself. So this is a beautiful way of describing a soul. The effervescent stream of light that perpetuates itself within the earth. So this aligns with how they have shown me in the past with what it is to be an embodied soul. That we think of ourselves as an embodied soul, we think of ourselves as like locked in this chamber, as if someone opened the body and poured us in and closed the door, and we were locked in here. And that's where like the soul is like stuck in the body, and we're like literally like liquid in a jar. And what the angels have told us is that's not actually how it happens. That the way that it actually works is that it's like a beam of light. We are a wave. And so a wave, you can't capture and hold a wave in a box, or it stops being a wave, right? The wave dies. So a wave a wave is a wave because it moves. Like that's the point. And that's why change is constant. So this idea that how does a soul get into a body? It is the wave of what we are is perpetuating itself. In other words, continuing to show up inside the body. And so this is a beautiful way. It's like a stream. We are like a stream of soul that is perpetuating itself inside this body until the body can no longer hold us. And so, and there's more to that whole explanation, but I think it's an amazing concept. The effervescent stream of light that perpetuates itself within the earth, in other words, the earth's soul, is rising to express herself. And she shall rise into an abundant field of anomalies where things no longer fit together. So an anomaly is something that deviates from what is expected. So an abundant field of anomalies where things no longer fit together. So this is, remember, the angels don't use words lightly, and they frequently mean more things than once at once. So when things that deviate from what is expected. So this could be on many layers, that it could be landmass that different, that we have crust shifting and rising possibly. But it could also be in terms of anomalies where things no longer fit together. It could be that, that there's an earthquake and my lamp falls over and breaks and it no longer fits together, right? It is an anomaly, right? It deviates from what is expected. So it could be on a very personal level where they're saying like, yeah, there could be things, like in terms of being in an earthquake where it disrupts our lives. But also it could be about the earth, anomalies in the earth. And crusts, within the earth that no longer fit together. So then they say, and this shall consecrate the gestation of a new beginning for herself. So this is a key message that basically, if and when this happens, we will see this as a great departure from where the earth, like it's going to be a major moment of rising of frequency of the earth. And that means for us too. So that's what they want us to hold. Like they want us to hold that reality, that truth, and really focus on that. Put our energy there. See the phoenix rising from the ashes, as they always say, right? So super, super cool. And Patty says, I'm blown away by the angels' predictions. During the last 4 years, they have talked about issues with shipping, natural disasters, a breakdown of government and all institutions. I listened and could not imagine how it would all play out. We are deep into the process now. What has been predicted is happening before our eyes. So grateful for you and the angels. A guidepost has been provided. Thank you so much for that, Patty. Yeah, and it is true. And all those messages are here they're available to you guys all on YouTube, on the channel, all the way back to like a big chunk of them. They started coming in 2020, like July of 2020 is when I first started. They came in before that, but I sat on them for 4 months because I was afraid to share them. And then I did, right? And I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did. But it's still always hard to share the hard ones. But that started in July of 2020. And if you need a quick, like what is all this stuff? It's all in this book. So this is a compilation. Many of you guys already have the book, but in case anybody doesn't, this is a shortcut to catching up on everything. It's all organized by topic area. So it's a really easy way to catch up on like what is the major messages that we've gotten about what's coming and all that kind of stuff. And it's on Amazon. It's called What's Coming Next. So if you need that, it's available for you. Okay. So here we are. And then, so consecrate the gestation of a new beginning for herself. So I think that is one of the most exciting things about this message. So then they go on next paragraph and they say, for she, meaning the earth, she is one as you are, as one with yourselves. So in other words, for she is as one with us, as you are. In other words, we are one with one another, and we are also one with the earth. That is what this is saying, is that basically that we are an expression, our bodies are a physical expression of the earth, that we are connected to her, that we are part of her. So if she goes up, we go up, which is great. They say she is within the institutional understanding of herself and is rising from within that. So that was like, what does that mean? She's within the institutional understanding of herself. So institutional means unappealing or unimaginative. It also means established practice, custom, or organization. So she's within the institutional understanding of herself. So it's the way she's sort of like stuck in her old ways, right? She's stuck in a way of seeing herself. She's stuck in limitation, just like we are. Right, stuck in her own limitations. And this is her chance, the established practice, customary way of being that is like that's unappealing, right? So it's like this, she's stuck in her own limiting belief systems and her own, concepts of herself. as limited, and this is her chance to break free. So that is she's within the institutional understanding of herself and is rising from within that. She has come to an agreement for her own cause of being, and she must now carry forward into a greater and broader explanation of her own soul. So she has come to an agreement. So her soul is in agreement. She's decided, yes, and that's true for all of us. Like, we all chose to come here at this time and to be here for this experience and to go through it. And some of us, it's like we all have different roles to play in this process. But it was a choice, and the earth too. She's chosen her own upliftment, and I think that's extremely important to know that part of what is driving this whole thing is the earth herself and her readiness to shift. Right? She has decided to let go of old belief systems. So a healing is we always heal ourselves. Like, we may have, and we often need help doing it. We need someone to facilitate, to hold us, right, to make space for us, to help us to see ourselves. But at the end of the day, it's always our choice. We are the one that allows the energy to move. And it's the same with the earth. So her choice to rise right now. So, and that will allow her to carry forward into a greater and broader explanation of her soul. Beautiful. So next paragraph. This underpinning, which is that we talked about, that means like foundation or support. So it could be like maybe the plates under the earth. This underpinning of which we are speaking shall rattle the earth in many places at once. So that is interesting, that it's not a localized quake, that it could be something that ripples out and affects several places. It shall become as if this is a really interesting one here. It shall become as if the great walking that once was revered has risen to take its place again, and the footsteps of giants are felt in the rattling of your china and the displacement of your things. So I was curious about this. So it was like, okay, cool, a cool visual. They gave me the visual of like giants walking on the earth. So I was like, okay, so where did that come from? Like the great walking that once was revered. So I thought this must be some kind of like an ancient culture that had a belief system that earthquakes were caused by giants walking the earth. So okay, so I just Googled that. I'm like, earthquakes caused by giants walking the earth, and I was curious, like, where did this come from? Like, which culture was it from? And boom, it was from. So interesting. It is from a Greek, the Greek gods. There was a giant named Enceladus, Enceladus, Enceladus or Enceladus, I don't know, Enceladus. But anyways, he was born from the blood of Uranus, and according to the Greek mythology. And the giants, apparently, when the Olympian gods came into power, the giants decided to lead a challenge against them. And the leader was this guy, Enceladus. He led the challenge against the Olympian gods. And so the biggest battle was he battled against Athena. And he was defeated by her. And so he had all these amazing, he was not a typical giant. He was, first of all, had immense strength and was in gigantic size, much bigger than any other giant, so big that he rivaled the gods. So he was a really unusual giant, extra big and strong. And he had the unique capability of generating earthquakes, and he was connected deeply to Gaia. So he could manipulate manipulate boulders and rocks and things under the earth to create earthquakes. So, and Athena, when she defeated him, she buried him in Mount Etna, which is in Italy. Like, it's in the southern part of Italy, like down at the bottom of the foot, the bottom of the boot. It's down there. And so that is the mythology. And so this is, I believe, when they're saying here, this is, I think, what they're talking about. And I just looking this up, but reading about this, I think it's fascinating because, so here it is. They say, where's my place? Oh, it's on the front of this. That's why I was lost. It shall become as if the great walking that once was revered, so revered like the gods, right, has risen to take its place again, and the footsteps of giants are felt in the rattling of your china and the displacement of your things. So it's if this great big giant was released. That's what they're saying. It'll be like that. So I, of course, thought, well, very interesting. I looked up Mount Etna. I'm like, okay, is Mount Etna? She's placed in Mount Etna. And sure enough, Mount Etna is like one of the most active it is the most active volcano I read in Italy. And apparently, since this one thing I read said, and I am just repeating what I've read, so I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert at this. I'm just going to only repeat what I've. So please, if you have any questions or if you want to go deeper, I invite you to do your own research. But this is just what I found this morning. Is that Etna has apparently had like 14 or 15 eruptions just since the beginning of 2025. So it's very active. I don't know if that's more than usual or not, but it's very active. And I think it's even erupting right now. Like I saw when I was looking, there was a live that I saw on someone's channel when I was searching it about Mount Etna erupting right now. So I was like, wow. Then I saw Stefan Burns. Those of you who know him, he's a very popular YouTuber that talks a lot about the solar stuff that's going on with the sun and then how that then affects the seismic activity around the earth. And he said, I saw that a video popped up from him where he was talking about how there's been a ton of energy or earthquakey type stuff happening around, specifically another place up there called Campi Flegrei or something like that. It's another, like a super volcano in Italy. So, but the thing that was fascinating to me is he was saying, okay, there's all this energy around Campi Flegrei. Yeah, I'm just not going to even try, you guys. You know what I'm talking about. And anyways, so this is up here. Italy kind of comes down, and then there's the boot or whatever. It forms around, he was showing in the ocean that there's what looks like a historic caldera under the ocean, right there, boom, around it. And at the top of it is this Campi Flegrei. At the bottom of it would be this Mount Etna. It looks like it's part of the same system. He didn't mention Mount Etna, but if you look at the map, it's like it's right there near the bottom of this caldera. So I just thought, okay, that's just an interesting little bit of information. Or, I don't want to, like, it is all subjective, right? It's nothing, none of it is like fact. It's not like this is like a proven thing. I'm just pointing out some interesting alignments that may or may not be revealing to us. So what this tells me, so the angels have talked before about, you guys know they've talked about the earth rift. Are they talking about the earth rift? It doesn't sound like that's what they're talking about here. It almost sounds like this is a precursor to the earth rift. Like this is not as big, I don't think, as the earth rift. It sounds like this is something that may, if I can see this as meaningful, they don't mention Italy other than this mention of the giants. So could it be talking about that? That's where my head went, but that's my earth self. I am often, like when I try to interpret things, like if I read it and just stick with what they've said, but here it is, it's pretty bad. It could be. And just looking at the activity. And yes, there's also the activity, but they said in the message that it would affect many places at once. So it could be that it's here. It could be that it leads. It could be, because the thing is the earth is one big earth. So it could be that movement here then creates movement off. Like, yes, there has been massive heightened activity off the coast of where I live. I'm in the Seattle area, and right off right like off the coast of Oregon, there has been a massive increase in earthquake swarms, like significant. And in the past, like that's been going on for a while. And when it first came up, there was like people were covering it and they're like, yeah, but the scientists say this happens all the time and it's no big deal. It's no big deal. And all of a sudden they're saying, this is behaving strangely. We're getting gases that are coming up through this fault or through these volcanoes, underground volcanoes, that they don't normally see. And this is just recent. They're saying that, and I've been watching this one because it's clearly in my neighborhood. And they're saying that this particular undersea volcano off the coast of Oregon is like the kinds of gases that are now being found typically come from deep down, which is not a good thing in terms of like volcanic eruptions. That it could mean that there's like bigger things of magma are coming up. So what before they were saying, yeah, this is nothing to worry about. Now they're saying, well, maybe it's something to worry about. So anyways, I just put all this out there for us to kind of look at this and say, okay, just put it in the back of your mind. I did include in the live talking about earthquake prevention, because how will this affect most of us? Earthquake. And so there's simple things you can do in your house to prevent earthquake, like to prepare for earthquakes. There's like making sure that any tall furniture is there. These very inexpensive kits. You can brace your tall pieces of furniture to the wall, and then go through the basic preparedness things, have emergency plans with your family and all that kind of stuff. So I won't go into that in depth here because we talked about it in depth on that live. But so we may be in for some rumblings. There may be some things coming. And so the way that it would affect the majority of people would be mostly through probably earthquakes. And then there may be some tsunami events. So if you're in a tsunami zone, again, what's your plan, right? How are we going to be safe as we go through it? If it happens, knowing that when it happens, we're not meant to be afraid. We're meant to see this as what it is, that it is an energetic release. And from this is coming this amazing, as they call it, energetic pulse, which is really, really good for us. It's really good. So that is something that we want to see, that phoenix rising from the ashes, see the good that's coming from it. Okay. So, and you're asking, is this the same as the gas cloud the angels predicted that, or did that the gas cloud has not happened? And I think that gas cloud is related to the earth rift, to the bigger earth rift. They do talk in this message about like the skies darkening, but I think that they say it passes quickly. So I think it's and then you're asking, or could it be the Yellowstone area and have been having earth rifts around in the ground recently? It looks like there just seems to be a lot of pent up energy in the earth. So I don't know, and I don't know, the fact that they mentioned the giants, is it just to help us understand, or is it a reference to Italy? I have no idea, you guys. I'm sorry. I don't know specifically. Joshua says, Edgar Casey predicted that Mount Etna and Mount Pelee will erupt simultaneously at some point, and 90 days after that, a huge flood would hit the West Coast. Wow. I did not know that. Well, and Andrew says, Mount Etna is on Sicily. So interesting. Look at it. Has been very active this year. Yes, it has been. So Nancy says, good time to have another chat with Pam Gregory, which I always would love to do. So yes, I think you're right. It would be great to get her input on this message. Yeah, to find out, what does the astrology say? Like, how are we lined up for something like this to happen? When might it occur? Great idea. Yes, thank you for that. And we need to reach out to Pam. I always love talking to Pam. Any excuse, right, to have Pam on. So that would be awesome. Yeah. So, okay, thank you for that, you guys. Thank you for that information. So, and like I said, it's the key with this. If we can speculate a lot, I think the key is what they're trying to tell us. The reason they share information like this with us is so that we're not caught flat-footed. It is that, so then when something happens, or if something happens, we can look back on it and say, this is what they were talking about. I understand why it's happening, and I understand how we will benefit from it. And now we just have to kind of do whatever we need to do to get through in the meantime, to ride through it safely. And we're not in fear. It doesn't feel like the world is a chaotic. It feels like the world has rhyme and reason. And that, I think, creates so much of a sense of peace. And I think that is why they share it with us. So and it really is. I think of it as like, imagine if you had a best friend who knew something that was heading your way and they didn't tell you. And you'd be like, what? Like, why? You knew. Why didn't you tell me? That is why they share it with us, because they have this relationship with us, and they want us to know we can trust them. And that if there's something on the horizon, that they're able to tell us. If it's in our highest and best, they will share it with us. And so that is how I see the message, right? It is part of our relationship that we have with them, a relationship built on trust. Yeah. And Thomas says there's also Santorini earthquake swarms. Yeah, it is. I think it is. I think it is something that is. I think there's a lot more energy in the earth, and I felt it before I got this message. I was feeling it, which is why I scheduled the earth meditation, because it feels like right now, it feels to me, it's like the earth is like, yeah, and that's what I was feeling, and thought, yeah, let's do a little something just to create, like, it's almost like the way I see that meditation, it's like if you had a toddler that was going through a tantrum and you were the parent, you want to create a space of safety, where the child can feel their feelings and feel love at the same time. That was my thought. Okay, so then going on. So interesting about the giant. Okay, then they go on to say, be aware for yourselves that this is a creating and a calling to come forward into the now. Be aware for yourselves that this demarcates a separation for the earth from what she was. So this is really important. In other words, this is a moment that we can say, as much as we say with the flash of light, that when the flash of light comes, we will look back and say that is the moment that everything changed. I think this is like a moment like that for the earth, where the earth is like moving through something big on this one. The inconstant, this is next paragraph, the inconstancy of your own reverberations, which have fluctuated between that which was, that which is, and that which shall be, shall become increasingly supported into higher dimensions because of what is rising from within her. So very, very awesome. And this, I think we can all relate to this, the inconstancy of your reverberation. So your own vibe. How has your vibe been? Have you been having some ups and downs, right? And do you sometimes feel like you are just like everything's lining up for you and life is great? And then do you sometimes feel like you're in the dumper? And it is that, and then sometimes do you feel like you're leaning backwards into like, gosh, I would would really love a little safety, and sometimes you feel ready to jump into the abyss of the unknown. That is the variation, that we are in this space of trying to acclimate to change. And so we've been fluctuating a lot. Our vibrations as humanity has been fluctuating a lot. And they say this will help us to become increasingly supported because of this energy, that's because of the release into higher dimensions, because of what is rising from within her. So it's almost like if we are all part of the earth and we're standing on the earth and her vibration rises, we will be supported. Like it's almost like the temperature changes to a better temperature. And all of a sudden we're like, it's nice and cozy now, right? And then she say, you shall find yourselves within a separated space from what has been under layers of disquiet and lack of communication. So interesting. So this is they're describing how will it change us? That we'll be we'll find ourselves in a separated space from disquiet and lack of communication. The disquiet can be like anxiety, uneasiness, like that feeling of the thing that's going to make us lean back into what was, right? Or the thing that's going to draw us down into anxiety or whatever it is. And then the lack of communication, that is an interesting thing to say, that that could be lack of communication with ourselves, with our higher self, and then could potentially also be a reference to telepathy, right? We have been in a period of lack of communication where we are cut off from one another. So this may help us to start to open even further. I know many of you are saying you're starting to experience beginnings of telepathy. It's happening, right? It's happening in fun and exciting ways. And that may be opening up a little bit more with this shift in frequency because of what may be coming. So that is a cool thing. So potentially helping us with any kind of like the low moments or any anxiety, and also helping us with our connectivity to each other and to our higher self. So then they go on to say, you shall find yourselves increasingly drawn together now and brought into greater relationship with your own selves. So I love this. I love this as an idea of what happens during periods of shock or disaster or any kind of catastrophe. Humans tend to come together, right? We help each other out. And that is what they're saying here. They're saying this is a positive, that we will find ourselves increasingly drawn together now to help one another. And they say, and brought into greater relationship with your own self. So these are other positive outcomes from if this happens, other positive results. They say, the earth's underpinning shall rise to intermix within your own constitutions, as if you are one with her, which you are. So this is that idea that she rises, we rise, our constitutions rise. And then they say, you shall find yourselves greater in depth of processing and understanding, as if the reservoir of knowledge that you contain becomes more accessible to yourselves, as if your connection to the Almighty, as if all that rises to the heavens can be reached more easily. So this is another thing they're saying is good. So we have multiple layers of positive results that come from this, right? Many good things, including what they're saying here, which is that it's almost like we'll be able to tap into universal knowledge, that sounds amazing. Where imagine asking a question and then having the answer just drop into your head. Just whoosh, there it is. There's the answer. That it just tapped into that source of universal knowledge. So, okay, so they go on to say, next paragraph, and this comes from the substance of the earth herself. She rises within you and between you and among you, and this then accentuates the expansiveness of your own soul. Beautiful, beautifully said. And you are able to find greater and broader depth of awakening within yourselves. So really, they're laying it out here clearly that this is going to help us to move into higher states of awareness, which comes with all those beautiful benefits that we want. All right. They go on to say, do not fear what comes. Do not fear the great enshroudment of the skies in what is darkening. It shall pass. So enshroudment means, and that's not actually, the angels frequently do that. They'll take a word and they add some flair on the back of it. And then if you look it up in the dictionary, it's like, oh, the dictionary doesn't like it that way, but the angels like it that way. So like you can be enshrouded, you can have an enshroud, but I don't see enshroudment in the dictionary, but the angels like it that way. So the great enshroudment is to enshroud something means it is hidden from view or covered. So in other words, whatever this creates could like if it's volcanic, imagine there could be some volcanic darkening of the skies for a period. But they say, don't worry, it'll pass. They say, do not fear what shall become known as an explosive time where separation is known more than togetherness. So to me, that says like explosive says potentially volcanic. And so does the idea of the skies being darkened says volcanic to me. And they say, don't worry, it'll pass. Like it's not like it's nothing to be afraid of. And then so there'll be time when separation is no more. So in other words, it'll be a thing that if it's separation more than togetherness, I think here they're starting to talk about like the way that the world right now feels like such a small, with the fact that we're here meeting and we're from all over the world, right? We've got in our community here, we have people from literally everywhere. So it feels like, everyone is so close, but during this period, it could be that some of that communication is interrupted. I am doing my best to try not to let that happen. So I have satellite. So hopefully, even if my area gets impacted, I will still be able to be online. But if not, hopefully it will come back online soon. But that is, I think, what they're talking about here, about that there will be a separation from, that would be more, where separation is known more than togetherness, where the world seems at a stoppage for a time. Do not fear it. This is only a statement of rising and awakening. It is only a foreshadowing of greater things to come, of your own rising, of your own awakening. So here they go on to say, next paragraph, they say, there shall be an incarceration between countries and planes of existence while things settle. So incarceration is like a confinement. So in other words, travel might be difficult. So that would make sense. If there's like volcanic ash in the air, planes cannot fly. So I know that because my parents one time went to Alaska on a vacation and a volcano erupted while they were there and they were stuck and they couldn't get, because the volcanic dust clogs the jet engine. So it's like a no fly time when that's happening. So if that happened, it might really slow down travel and, transportation and stuff between places. So, and they said it, so, and that would be for a while things settle, they say. There shall be difficulty moving things. So this is important. Difficulty moving things means they're not telling us to hoard, but they are telling us have more than, like, if you are normally one of those people that just like has a couple things in your fridge, please go and do a little shopping and have some things that will last you for a little while in your fridge, in your pantry, stuff that will be stable, even if you lose power, like pantry staples. Even if you're just a PB&J person, like just please go do a little bit of that. Have that in mind, that it will be difficult to move things. You just want to be in a place, and the reason I say that is because, and the angels have said, it's not that there won't be anything, it's that there won't be everything. And what you don't want to be doing is get to a place where there is difficulty moving things, where there's no more deliveries to your local grocery store, and there's some things available, but there's not everything, and lots of people are having to line up, and maybe there's rationing or something like that. And think about how unpleasant that feels. It's not a good feeling to feel like so just avoid it. Like just do a little bit of prep in advance so you don't have to be queuing up in line to get your own can of Spam, right? You want to have what you like in your pantry ready to go so that you can ride out if it's a couple of months, right? Until things get back to normal again. And this may not affect you at all, depending on where you live, because not everything happens everywhere, but it may. Like I happen to know I live near a very seismic thing going on right now. So this is on my mind. And yes, I am doing earthquake preparations. Yes, I am looking at like tying my stuff to the wall and looking at like, what do I have that's breakable, and just doing some basic thinking ahead of time, right? Making sure if I have glass things in the pantry, I'm moving them to a lower shelf. I'm doing stuff like that. Simple, easy, right? But it could be helpful if I need it. I don't know. Maybe I will. But I'll be glad I did if I need it. So, but please, if you are that person who always uses Apple Pay to pay for everything, please have some cash on hand, like 5s and 10s and 1s, low denomination, because in the event that you're in a disaster area, the first thing you hear is that you can't use your credit card anymore. You have to pay. If you want to buy some gas, if you want to buy some, whatever it is, a bag of ice to keep your food good, if you want to buy a loaf of bread, you got to have cash. These are small things that you can do now that are easy and that are harder to do. And like I said, we had 2 hours chatting about this on the YouTube channel under the lives. So if you go to my channel and look under the lives, it's all there. And it's not comprehensive. I'm not an expert. Like there's so many other channels out there that focus on like prepping, and I'm not. That's not who I am or my expertise at all. But there, and so if you want to go deeper, I can think there's probably loads of really good ones on YouTube. So I would do a little let your fingers do the walk-in if you want to go if that helps you. Then but at least that live is an easy. My approach is, here's the stuff if you would just want to do this once and not think about it anymore. That's my approach. So if that appeals to you, then you can check out the live. Yeah. Mike says, I buy extra $200 every week for the pantry. That's a genius idea. Just do a little bit. Like you can literally, like what's on sale when you go to the grocery store of the things you normally eat, what is on sale, and don't buy weird things, because I made that mistake. Don't buy, oh, that would be interesting. Don't buy stuff you normally eat that's on sale. Like if you have pasta once a week and pasta goes on sale, buy some extra and then just gradually stock it up, right? That's a great way to do it. Yeah. Great idea, Mike. And then Andrea says, "Hey, Andrea, great to see you." She says, "I have channeled that around the same time the Earth erupts in the Indian Ocean, there will be at least 2 other eruptions, one near Spain, one near Washington State, making the eruptions heard around the world, affecting the oceans, affecting farming for a season. There could be other eruptions too, like Alaska's Mount Spur and Japan, not sure. People who prepare will be okay. No fear mongering, just prepare." Yes. And I thank you so much for that, Andrea. And it is, I think that is that they are saying that it would be in more than one place that it could happen. So, and like I said, in most places, it's not, like I said, maybe your dishes will rattle, but in other places it might be more severe. So it's just a little preparation goes a long way. Right. And then the key during all of it is when it comes, be like, oh my gosh, we are shifting. This is it. We are shifting. That it's a good feeling to think about that. When you know why, when you understand where it's taking us, when you open yourself up to the higher vibration, like that is cool. And it completely changes the valence. Like, and you can get through anything if you know it's taking you to something wonderful. So, yeah. Okay. There should be difficulty moving things. A time period within which transportation does yield to the pressures of the environment. In other words, the things in the environment prevent shipping from happening or much travel from happening. And we say, "You shall resume your undertaking shortly. Have no fear. Times will separate from this now moment, and you shall begin again within the constitution of one who has reached a higher and brighter illumination of their own substantial divinity within." So that is a beautiful thing. So they're really emphasizing that's what we should focus on, is that what this means for us, like how this is going to help all of us and the earth. Next paragraph. "The great underpinnings of the earth shall rattle, and she shall rise, and she shall come into agreement with herself, that she shall be more of her own soul in the future." Isn't that interesting? It's always like she shall come into agreement. She's choosing. She's agreeing. It's all about that. We heal because we agree with our own divinity, right? We allow that we are that. We are all that. We are that beautiful, amazing light inside of us. We agree. And when we are in wounding, it's because we don't allow it. We say, "No, that can't be true about me," right? We stick with our stories. So, and there's no fault in that. That is what it is to be human. That's the process of self-discovery. That's the process of healing, which we do in Soul Convergence. And you're invited. June 7th, we start. Okay. "She comes to break away from what has been limiting beliefs." So this is how she is healing. "She comes to break away from what has been limiting beliefs in her own reality. She comes to free herself from that which she has held against her own purpose." So just like us, right? She's healing literally exactly like we do. Yeah. And they go on to say, "And this shall resonate deeply within your own hearts, as if a great call can be heard to the depth of your soul and your spirit." How amazing is that, you guys? And I know some of you are super, super connected to Gaia. Like, we're all built differently. And I know, like, you guys know my connection is like, I'm all about the angels and the mother of creation. Some of you are all about Gaia. And so I imagine for those of you that really feel her deeply, this is going to be a very, very powerful moment, very powerful moment. So I hope that you will share your experience with us when it happens, because they were all meant to share. We are all windows into the world. So if you are one of those people that really, really feels her, it would be amazing to have your insights that come to you. Yeah. So they go on to say, "This rattling is more than a quakening of things. It is an end." So no, there's more than just an earthquake. They're saying this is more than just rattle. It is an energetic pulse. So fascinating. An energetic pulse that surrounds you within her own field as it speaks to your soul, to your heart, to rise together into an embracing of what shall become the future. Yielding what has been to announce the now is now begun. I love that ending. Yeah. So interesting to think about that it's like an energetic pulse that moves through, breaks through, and it makes sense because it's like something's got to create the momentum to create a big shift. It's like something's got to give the push to make it so it's a pulse from her. Wow. So cool, you guys. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here, for sharing the message together. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate this community, the positivity, the wisdom that comes through as we are all sharing our own unique perspectives on this amazing changing time. So thank you. I'll see you guys next Friday live. Bye, you guys.